Good afternoon. My name is Donna Fizel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, from 1 to 3 p.m. Central, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You can find us on the radio at icradio.media, and we are now Fox News affiliates, and we're real proud of that. Thank you, Dave Manning, for making it such a smooth transition. You can find us on television, Channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on the newscasters.com. You know something? You need to have a podcast on the newscasters.
Well, I do have a podcast.
Put it there.
But we...
I'll get you the contact info. Yeah, because people are looking for information, especially about gardening. And, because we're in kind of a weird time right now where the groceries, if you're shopping for groceries and you got to eat good, salads and all those great vegetables are so high right now.
Yep. Just like everything else.
Oh my goodness. And people are looking for alternatives. A lot of first-time gardeners have been sending emails.
Yeah. And first-time gardeners, they have a lot of questions about things. And, and
I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, and, one of the things they want to know is, what can you grow? How do I grow it? What do I grow it in? That's one of our biggest questions we have with new gardens is what can I grow in?
I've even heard you can actually grow something on a bale of hay.
You can. There's this but I can't say it. Straw bale gardening. You can absolutely do that. I don't know. I'm not real as versed in it as some of my coworkers are, but yeah, you can definitely do that. You can.
By the way, Brian Brown is with us.
We just jumped right in.
We're just good friends, and we just started talking. So I'm assuming and everybody knows Brian. That's why you have so many emails. But Brian is with the Extension Office, ACES, and I took the Master Gardener classes 2 years ago now, almost.
Yep.
And I learned a lot. And I'll tell him now, I would pay double.
Yeah.
But it's too late now. I had to pay double. But anyway, it's worth it. It's worth it. I'm telling you, you need to find your extension wherever you're listening to this show. You need to go find your county extension office and take the Master Gardeners classes. So
yeah, and we have a class coming up. We do. It's in Marshall County this fall. If you're in the local in the Alabama region and you need a class, you can reach out to your local county office, but we have one in Marshall County this time in Guntersville. So if anybody's interested in a local area, we'll have a class there. So we'll right now is sign up if you're we're watching in June. So that right now this month is sign up month. So
you'll learn so much. I mean, I beg you to do it. Go ahead and take that class. Now we're talking to a lot of first time gardeners.
Right.
What advice do you have? What should you do? What should you not do?
Yeah, well, I think it really just depends on their situation. A lot of people want to know what you can grow in. And you can literally grow in anything. Anything that can hold soil and then has a drain. That's the number one thing. Whatever pot, whatever container you put it in, it needs to be able to drain. And so that is so important for everything. Plants need water, but they don't need so much that they're drowning, So that's one of the other things. Another thing, what can I grow? Well, you need to decide, when you're going to grow. Are you going to do a summer garden or you can do fall? And here in Alabama, we're so warm, we can grow almost year round. Lettuces and things like that, you grow in the fall. So it just really depends on what you want to grow. And I encourage everybody, grow what you like to eat. I love squash. That's one of my favorite things. And I don't have time to have a garden, unfortunately.
So busy teaching us.
Yeah, so, I always just go to the farmer's market or something like that. And my parents, my dad grows enough for all of us. So I'll just get some from them. But yeah, grow what you love to eat. Or, if you have neighbors and you want to experiment with something new, maybe find out what they like to eat. Maybe you can grow some for them too. So
that's what my grandparents used to do. They would swap out with the neighbors. My granddad could grow a tomato out of nothing.
Yeah.
And so he would trade out some of the other vegetables with other neighbors.
Yeah, and you really, gardening is not that difficult. But one of the things we can teach you things to help you along the way, and if you're a new gardener. But one of the most important things you can do is just get out there and do it. You know, I encourage everybody, you know, get out there, make mistakes. That's how we're going to learn things. So get out there, make a mistake. Oh, but
keep a diary of it. That's another
thing.
I keep a journal.
Yes, keeping a
journal. And so I can remember what did I do really weird last year, and it didn't work, you know. Yep. And so that's helped me throughout the years.
Right. And, you know, water is probably the number one issue, making sure that it's watered consistently, especially for tomatoes. Tomatoes, if you don't water consistently, it can cause a lot of problems.
Oh, okay, got a
question. I think you had a question.
We got it. Brandy wants to know about tomatoes. She said that they burst. And it seems like she's having like less and less tomatoes for that good tomato sandwich that she likes, and more of the burst. What's happening there? Yeah, so it's splitting. What happens is fluctuations in water. You get that rapid expansion. You get a lot of water, and so it doesn't stretch. You know, so it splits. And you know, there's some other things that could be involved there, but most of the time it's excessive water. So. Too much water is as bad as not having enough.
That's exactly right. And a lot of plants, not just tomatoes, but a lot of plants will exhibit the same characteristics as if it has too much or too little water. So sometimes it's hard to determine what that is. But tomatoes are, you know, they're little sickly little plants. They love to get every disease known to man, and every insect loves to eat them, and we do too.
I love eating them too.
Yeah. So. But they're, you know, and like blossom enrite, you know, if you've heard of blossom enrite, it's a calcium deficiency, and I won't get into the science, but you know how I love to talk science, but it's a calcium deficiency, but it's actually more than that. It's actually the fluctuation of water. So if you're not watering consistently, calcium, I'm sorry, I got to go science on you. Calcium needs to be available at the root at all times, because if it's not, you get this, it moves in, it's not actively taken up. It's actually moves in with the water through what's called mass flow. So it comes in, and so that growing point on that tomato, if it doesn't have that calcium ion binds the two cell walls together. And if it's not there, it collapses. And so that's what you have if you have an end of your tomato and it's rotten, or it looks rotten, you can still eat it. It's nothing wrong with it. Just cut it off and it's fine. But that's called blossom enrite, and that's because that cell wall has...
It's a waste of a good tomato. Yeah. I wanted to ask you a question too, and this is pertaining to seeds and seeds and I've learned to collect seeds. I still have seeds in the freezer that my granddad had here from the year 2015. Yeah. And they still are, they still work. So my deal is I take good care of my seeds. I do everything, by the book, the way it's supposed to be. But I have rogue tomato plants coming up everywhere. And I can't get rid of them. It's just like I just have to have them. I've got one just pulled up in the middle of the yard. Yeah, it's probably birds or something. After taking care, I'm so persistent in making sure I'm doing the right things. But it seems like they can just come up from, and I have some cucumbers that have just come up from nowhere.
Yeah, it could be a number of things. It could have been a neighbor that threw out a tomato and the bird ate it, and it planted its seed over here. So they could do that, and seeds can be viable for many years. Just depends on what type of seed it is, and how it was, how it was stored. Freezing is a good option. Sometimes that's not good for them, but sometimes it is. It just depends on the plant.
Beans do love it. They love being in the freezer.
Yes, they do.
I have limas and stuff that my granddad had that we're still eating.
That's good.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I have another question, and now Reggie asked about nematodes. Apparently the bad ones.
Yeah. So there's good and bad nematodes, but I'm assuming he's talking about the bad ones. The two really bad ones that we deal with a lot is called the ring nematode and the root knot nematode. Root knot is probably the most common one. And what it is, a nematode's a tiny little worm that weasels its way into the root of the plant, and it makes the root swell, and so you'll have these little nodules all up and down the root. Really bad. It kills the plant because the plant can't take up any nutrients. It looks like drought. So when you have nematodes, it's clogging up the vascular system of that plant, and it wilts, and it looks like, I haven't watered my plant. Well, you actually have nematodes.
Then you're flooding it.
So what you do, yeah, exactly.
And everything else around.
Right. And so what you do to eliminate nematodes, there are some nematicides. We don't like to use that because you have to store them in a crazy way, and it's not worth it. The easiest and best and cheapest thing you can do is solarize. Now, I don't think we've talked about solarization.
We've not talked about that. That's an interesting topic.
Yeah, so this is a new one. Solarization is not new, but the subject for us is new. With solarization, what you do, you take clear plastic. I can't emphasize that enough. It has to be clear plastic. Get the thicker kind, just because it doesn't degrade as fast. Yeah, heavier duty. I forgot what mill it needs to be, but get the thicker kind. It's just more durable. And what you do is you plow it up, plow your field up or whatever you're planting in, and cover that, wet it down, and then cover it. And this needs to be done maybe around July, end of July. So crops are kind of starting to fade at that time. August is fine to do it. You know, it's hot in Alabama in July and August.
No kidding.
So if you can forego a fall crop in August or so, so put that clear plastic down over some wet soil, seal it, take some dirt and put around the edges, and then weight it down with some rocks or some boards or just something to hold it down to keep it from blowing in the wind, and just let it sit there for about 6 to 8 weeks and let it cook, and just let it fry those nematodes like bacon. Because they are, it will kill.
That's a good idea.
But not only does it kill nematodes, it kills other kinds of diseases, and it also kills weed seed. And so if you've had a really weedy garden, solarization is another thing you can do, because it gets really hot up under that tarp. So make sure it's held down.
But it has to be clear. So you couldn't use like black or
Cannot use black. Now black does absorb sun. But that clear, it's like the greenhouse effect, you know. It's solarizing that, and so it really fries that soil, and that it kills everything. It sterilizes it basically is what you're doing. So you build up that steam in there, and it just gets so hot, it kills all your nematodes. So,
but there are good ones.
There are good ones, but if you have a problem, you need to just solarize and be done with it. Yeah,
and get rid of all those bad ones. But there are some good bugs out there too.
That's right. There are good and bad bugs.
Creepy crawly things.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good bugs and bad bugs. You know, ladybugs. We love ladybugs. Ladybugs. They're one of the most vicious creatures out there. You think they're not, but they are ruthless when it comes to aphids and soft-bodied insects. Aphids are a huge problem in our gardens and in landscaping and everywhere.
Now people can actually order those, can't they?
So here's the thing about ordering bugs. I wouldn't recommend it, because if you order bugs, you know, you shake them out on your garden, guess what they're going to do? They're gone. The best thing to do is find something that attracts them. So one of the things that one of our professors at Auburn is doing, he's working on another disease that's it's a scale insect, and it's a crepe myrtle bark scale, and it's a soft-bodied insect.
We talked about that in class.
Yeah, that's right. And so ladybugs love to eat them. So you need to attract ladybugs, and the way you do that is you take a card, you know, maybe about the size of a piece of paper like you got there. You know, the like the political signs, you know, that has, you know, the rigid, I don't know what they're called.
People put, for some reason, by my yard, I've probably got 50 of them somewhere.
Yeah, so if you can paint that, the color of that cup there, so this yellow cup. Y'all can't see it, but that color right there, they love this color. So if you'll paint that political sign that color, they will come to your garden because they're attracted to that.
Paint it and they will come.
You know, that's right. And so when they see that, they're attracted to that, and then they get distracted. They're like, oh, wait, here's an aphid. Here's another aphid. And so they go to town on the aphids and soft-bodied insects.
I get it. So I've been trying to figure out why I've got so many ladybugs. We took down an old mailbox my grandparents had, and Phil bought a new one, put that up. So I got the old one I just couldn't get rid of. It was my grandparents. And I painted it yellow, or Phil painted it yellow. And I've noticed a lot of ladybugs out there for some reason.
That's right. And they're attracted to yellow.
There you go.
Yep. So it's a It's biological control. It's an IPM technique, integrated pest management. You've not bought any herbicides or pesticides or whatever, and it's just something you just hang it in a tree or hang it in your garden, and you're good to go.
There you go. I don't buy a bunch of them and Raj across the street gets them.
Yeah. So, and again, there's good insects and there's bad insects,
Mm-hmm.
and some are good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
They can be both. Wasps, for example. They can be pollinators,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't like them because they hurt when they sting. So,
and they keep coming back. It's not like a honeybee where they sting you, they're dead. But those wasps will keep coming.
Yeah, they can repeatedly just hit you. It's not
Uh-huh.
fun if you get stung in the eye. Just FYI.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Been stung twice in the
honeybees.
eyeball.
But we have honeybees, and I see those, and they're reproducing like crazy. And so I'm beginning to see little tiny ones where they're coming out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're very beneficial to the garden.
Yeah, bees are, and bees are not native. Did you know that?
No.
Honeybees are not native. They come from Europe.
Oh, okay.
So we do have.
That's why you hear about the African ones and different ones.
but honeybees are not native to this country, and a lot of people have that misconception. So
Uh-huh.
there are bees that are native here that are pollinators and stuff,
Mhm.
but the honeybee is definitely not native. So
Mhm.
just your fun fact for the day there.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're beneficial. Have y'all got any honey out of it yet?
Oh,
or-
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, not this season.
Okay.
So what we're going to do, and if you're a beekeeper, you need to do this, okay? Don't take all of their honey. You want to leave a lot of it in the box. So we have actually 2 boxes. We've got the big box and then the smaller one up on top, which is all we're going to need anyway. And so, and we've done this. We've robbed every year, and we're not going to do it anymore. We're going to rob only that top box. They'll be healthier bees, and they're going to stay with you, and they're going to reproduce like crazy. I'm going to wind up with 10 hives this year.
Wow. It's a lot of
Just
hives.
from what I got.
Wow.
You know me,
You're
I
gonna
can't
have
do
some
anything
honey.
small. I've
Yeah.
always got to go all out. So,
Yeah.
so we're going to have some honey. Yeah, my son here will get some honey. So, I mean, and it's so good for you, and local honey is like the best thing to do. But I like not only that, but what they're doing for the garden and for
Mhm.
my flowers.
Right. Yeah, they pollinate. I mean, especially tomatoes. Tomatoes, which the honeybees don't pollinate tomatoes, but bees in general, they pollinate a lot of different melons and things like that. So, yeah, they're very essential to everything that we do.
We taught several times, several discussions in class, and you need to, again, I'm mentioning the Master Gardening class, but you taught several times about companion gardening.
Mhm.
And it works because I have never, I'll be 65 this month, I have never been able to have decent lettuce.
Mhm.
Companion gardening in there with my tomatoes. I've got lettuce that you got to take some before you go
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think it would all live, and it is. I'm
Yeah,
serious.
that's surprising
Take
it's
some.
still alive.
Take some.
Yeah.
It is exploding
Yeah.
in growth. But I think maybe it's because I don't have it in, and it's got to have sun. They love sun. But it's not like sun. They're kind of close to the tomatoes. And
Mhm.
the tomatoes are kind of
Some filtered
shielding.
sun.
Yes.
Yeah. We use that term a lot for
Mhm.
filtered sun.
Uh-huh.
So.
And that's it.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's good that usually they're faded.
Oh, they're beautiful.
That's great.
They're beautiful.
It's great. When it gets a little hotter, you
Yeah.
probably won't have any
Yeah, I
more.
probably won't then. But
So.
it is beautiful now. And then I also like to put sunflowers
Mhm.
and that's another pest management thing you can do,
Yeah.
especially with
You
marigolds.
could do marigolds. You could
Mhm.
do a trap crop where you kind of something that's more attractive rather than your plants. You can plant a lot of trap crops that will attract the insects over there to those, and they can not mess with yours, or you might get a little bit, but not as much. So there's several different techniques, for the bad bugs that you can manage them. But like I said, marigolds, there's
Is it the
actually
fragrance they don't like?
yeah. So there's actually a chemical. It's a pyrethrin. That's actually derived from marigolds.
Oh.
So it's I don't know that it's organic approved. It may be, but the pyrethroids is derived from marigolds. So,
By the way, if your mother would like to have some marigolds, they're coming up rogue. They're
Yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah.
And the raspberries are doing really good too.
really,
Mhm.
raspberries are hard to grow up here.
Mhm.
They don't like the
It's,
heat.
it's the raised gardening, I think.
Yeah, yeah. You can a lot of times you can keep the roots cooler
Mhm.
and mulching. That's always essential. Mulch your garden. A lot of people don't do that, but mulch your garden.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have less weeds. You'll keep that temperature down, and it actually holds in more water and more moisture.
Mm-hmm.
So mulch your garden.
That's the way to do it.
Yep.
Absolutely. But again, the Master Gardener classes, and I'm going to be mentioning this several times. I'm sold. That's how you do it. Now, Sandy was talking about diseases in her gardening.
Okay.
So, what are and so first of all, we talked about the stem and the clash,
Mm-hmm.
and then actually the root, and then the stem, and then the leaves. But if you'll watch your plants, they'll tell you what's wrong with them.
Right. And sometimes. Now I'm getting better at it. I'm still not great at it, but I'm getting better at diagnosing things, because with diseases you can have abiotic or biotic diseases.
Mm-hmm.
So abiotic things are things like weather. Like what's the weather? Is it hot? Is it cold? Sometimes rain. It could be a number of different factors that's abiotic.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have biotic factors. So these are things that could be like humans. Humans can be considered a biotic disease because we physically damage it. Animals, that's a biotic, that they can cause some damage. But most of the time when we use that term, we're using something that refers to like fungi or bacteria or viruses or something like that. Mm-hmm. Most of the time here in the South, when it's hot and humid, we're dealing with fungi.
Mm-hmm.
Fungi's, gosh, it's so hard here in the South. Most of them love that hot, humid temperatures. Mm-hmm. And when you start seeing that temperature and that humidity rise, you're going to have all kind of outbreaks of like powdery mildew is a bad one. You get black spot on roses. You get all kinds of funguses that just pop out of nowhere. So,
should you just prune them? Prune those bad leaves off?
Yeah, you can. Leaves don't come back to life. They have to produce new leaves, and that's with any plant. It can wilt, but once it's dead, it's dead. It's not coming back. So you have to prune it out to make a new leaf or whatever. So, that's if you have funguses, you have a problem with powdery mildew, things like that. Sprays are great for that. You can use there's organic ones too. You can use copper sulfate is one, but for the most part, fungicides are usually pretty harmless. But you have to spray them before you get an infection. So that's what's really important. It's not a curative; it's a preventative. So, you need to spray when it gets hot and humid, and just spray some fungicide out there to prevent things from happening.
Absolutely. So. Got to go into a commercial break. Man, time flies. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018. Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching, beginning 1 p.m. Now that's Central Standard Time. So we do appreciate you watching us. Brian is with us, Brian Brown, and he's with the County Extension Office through Auburn University. Master Gardener. He's a master at it. I'm telling you what, I learned so much. You've got to go to the Master Gardener's class. So there's something I wanted to ask you. I think I accidentally did it the right way. So I planted some potatoes, okay, and I was thinking companion planting, and I went on ahead, and I planted the potatoes before. They're like huge. There are leaves everywhere, and I know you can't cut them down. You can't, because the potatoes down under the ground have to have that nutrient from the leaves. Okay, but I went on ahead and planted a whole bunch of onions, and they were overshadowing my onions. I mean, they were sad, okay? They were not growing. So I went on ahead and transplanted them. I thought, why not? Because they're not going to live this way. So I went on ahead and transplanted them. I thought I'd kill them. Now they look good. I mean, they're doing really good.
Yeah.
There are things I like to companion plant with, but I don't know why these potatoes grew at such a fast rate. I mean, I'm telling you.
They just liked where they were at, I guess, so...
So could you companion plant anything with potatoes just to be safe?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up.
There's going to be the golden ones.
Yeah, oh really?
They're going to be good.
Yukon
Golds.
Oh yeah, those are great. Those are really good, especially for like mashed potatoes. Those are great for those. So.
Potato salad, all that some good stuff.
Yeah. As far as companions for potatoes, I'm not that familiar with it.
But why should you not uproot? Because I thought they're going to die anyway. I'll just try it. And it was only 2 weeks ago.
Right.
and it was beginning to get hot. And I was
Well,
like,
if something's not happy where it's at, it's probably eventually going to die. So just go ahead and do it. Yeah, and again, experiment. Write it down. If it worked, then it's okay.
I love my onions too.
right. So I mean, you just have to experiment with stuff and figure out what you enjoy.
Happened to work. So. The moon must have been shining just the right way. Speaking of the moon shining just the right way, how about the little pest? Supposed to be, the end of the world. We're all going to die. Which one?
There's always something.
Well, the one that makes so much noise.
Cicadas?
Yeah, we haven't had any here.
You know
but
what?
They're all over Fort Payne.
They're not in my house either. But you go down the mountain from my house, and you can't even hear yourself when you're driving down the road. It's so loud.
Downtown Fort Payne.
Yeah.
Downtown Fort Payne is so loud with those things.
The cicadas, there's several broods or categories of cicadas, and these are the 13 and 17 year. So they go underground for 17 years, and they survive in the soil buried for 17 years. And then they emerge, so the next time, what is it, 2024? So it'll be 2037? No, I can't do math. What is that, 3041?
That weirds me out.
2041?
They live underground for decades and then just emerge.
Yeah, and it's one of the strangest insects in the world. I mean, it is so weird. But it just so happens this year, the two brood, the 13 and 17 year, coincided. So they emerged at the same time. So we have a whole lot more of them, trillions of them.
Well, will they migrate and move? I don't want them to.
They don't move very often.
So where they're stationed, they're staying.
They'll move some, but their native range, they don't fly very far off because, you'll hit them with windshield, but when they're flying, but they don't fly very far from where they emerge at. They emerge, they eat, they molt, they mate, and then they go back in the soil, and that's it.
Do they do damage to crops?
They can. They actually, so things like apples and things like that, they can do some damage to them. They're not considered like a major pest because they're so temporary. But they have been documented to do some damage on crops. But
I've heard it's just mainly noise, and they do attract snakes. I heard.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I'm not that familiar with them. We do have annual cicadas that we have every year. These are just the real ugly ones with the beady red eyes, and they're hideous. But and people eat them. I'm not gonna eat one.
Are you kidding me?
Nope, they eat them.
I did eat a grasshopper.
Well, there was at the Trash Pans game a couple of weeks ago. The camera was on this guy, and he just popped one in his mouth. So that people eat them. I'm not one of those people. I'd rather have a steak.
People also eat Tide Pods.
That's true. That is very true.
so there you go.
To each his own, I guess.
Or put them up their nose or whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about propagating, because you were also part of a class. We were talking about that, and I think it's a wonderful thing. But before you say anything, I did have some folks who sent me emails saying that they had picked stuff up on the side of the road.
Okay.
I'm a little leery of that, especially going down an interstate.
Yeah, depends on what it is. Is it a herbaceous plant or is it a woody plant? Really depends on what that is. Is it something they want to eat? I would be very careful about that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I recommend people to not eat anything they find on the side of the road, mainly because roadsides are sprayed with chemicals, and
that's right.
They probably are not gonna make you sick or anything, but who wants to eat chemicals? So let's stay away from eating things off the side of the road. It's probably safer for you to eat that thrown out hamburger from McDonald's, that somebody threw out. Yeah, don't do that either.
I don't know. They preserve them pretty well. Fries can be in your car.
I just tell people, just make sure you know what it is. If you find it, just for example, my friend yesterday had texted me, and he said he was taking a walk and he saw some dill, what he thought was dill. He asked, was it native? And I was like, well, not really. I said, you don't want to eat anything that you find out in the woods unless you absolutely know for sure and can ID it. Well, it turns out it wasn't dill, it was dog fennel, which is a really bad weed. I saw some in my yard before I came this way.
They're pretty invasive too, aren't
They
they?
are. It kind of looks like a little mini pine tree.
Yeah.
You know, they're real furry and stuff, but it's a bad weed, and he said it smells like dill, and it may, but it's not. I was like, don't eat anything unless you absolutely know, and definitely don't eat something off the side of the road.
Yeah.
So steer away from those.
Yeah, I'm mainly thinking of the pesticides that can be. Now, what is a healthy way? You want to get rid of pests, or you want to get rid of weeds? What's a healthy alternative?
Well, the solarization, like we talked about before, that's
probably the best.
That's the best way to do that. Hand weeding, flaming. I don't know if you've ever heard of flaming before, but that's when you take one of those long torches and you just hold it on there and you burn the weeds.
Don't give Phil any ideas. He loves torches.
Yeah, so you can definitely do that. That's you can do flaming. Cultivating and plowing and just getting out there with a hoe.
That's the best way. I'm sorry, but it is the best way.
Yeah, it's one of the best ways, especially if you have a smaller garden. If it's less than an acre, which if you have an acre, you're going to be busy. So if you have a 100 by 200 or something, decent sized garden, you'll have more than you can eat. But just get out there with a hoe and get after it.
Want to feed the world's what we want to do, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, don't produce more than you can handle.
Right, and then mulch. That's another thing that can help control weeds. Is mulch. I think I mentioned it earlier that mulch it will help keep moisture retention. It helps weeds, so it keeps the weeds down. There's so many benefits to it, and as it breaks down, it goes into the soil, and that builds your organic layer, which is big. So if you can build that organic layer, you will have some really great plants.
Man, I've got to mention, I learned so much about compost too. The best compost, you can't buy it. It's just having your own. If nothing else, grass cuttings.
Right.
Where you put you have your green, you put it down there, it turns brown. Then next time you cut the grass, put it on top of it and just move it around. It is wonderful. That may be why the tomatoes are going crazy.
So grass, a lot of people when they cut their grass, they want to collect all the grass clippings, and it makes it look pretty and all this stuff. But there's a lot of nitrogen in that grass blade that you've cut off, and so
grass tea. We make grass tea.
Yeah. So so there's a lot of nitrogen in that, and you don't need to waste that. So put it in a compost pile. It's best to have that carbon to nitrogen ratio just right. It's like 3 to 1, or your greens to browns. But we have a lot of information on composting on our website, aces.edu, and you just search at the top there, compost, and we've got lots of articles about there how to start your own compost bin. So
and it's easy to do, and you know how. Like I'm a weird woman, Phil says. So for Mother's Day 2 years ago, Phil said, "What do you want for Mother's Day?" And I said, "I want a wood chipper."
Yeah.
And he said, "You are really weird." But it's been the best thing. I mean, because we'll get those limbs and we're pruning, we're doing all this stuff, and I can't just burn it. I mean, I want to make use of it. And so I use that wood chipper. And it's not a huge thing, so it's completely safe. Even if you tried, you couldn't cut your hand off with it. I even had a show on it where I was actually using the wood chipper. So, I mean, it was very expensive. It was under $120.
Yeah.
It's some good ones.
Oh yeah, you can get some old limbs and stuff and grind those things up. And
Recycle.
It's recycling, and it's it builds your compost pile pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So if you need any more down trees, I got plenty. So just let me know.
I may head out there and see what I can get.
Yeah.
Listen, we talked about Sandy, and now Daryl, I think we kind of touched on this: the good insects versus the bad insects. Daryl, I hope that helps too. Have you got anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, on the good insects, there's a lot of good ones out there. Ladybugs is probably our most well known. And have you ever seen a baby ladybug?
No.
They don't look like a ladybug.
Maybe I've seen. I just didn't know it.
So usually early spring, you'll see them. They got they almost look like a caterpillar, but they're only about maybe 3/4 of an inch long. They got black and orange stripes down their back, and they do not. You will think, what is this alien creature on my plant? But they're actually baby ladybugs. So Google that. Just I wish I could show you what they look like, but they're a weird looking creature, and they look nothing like they do as an adult. So that's a good one. Praying mantis, that's a great one.
Those freak me out.
Yeah, there's a lot of
There's some good spiders too.
There are good spiders. Garden spiders. There's a lot of those out there. Oh man, gosh, there's just so many bugs.
But I'm not going to ask it if it's a good one or a bad one.
Well, and what's interesting about insects is there's actually the far, far vast majority of insects are actually good insects. It's just a few that are really, really bad, and that's the ones that get the most attention.
Yeah, talked about. That's like politicians and talk show hosts.
Right, that's right. And stink bugs are bad. They can cause some real damage, especially on peaches.
Yeah.
Any kind of fruit, they put their proboscis in there, and it can ruin, especially the softer fruits like the peaches and stuff. Let's see, curculio, the plum curculio, that's a bad one on peaches and plums and things. Gosh, I mean, there are a lot of insects out there, but usually they try to feed on one type of crop. You know what I mean? Aphids feed on everything, though. So we have a lot of stink bugs eat a lot of stuff too. So
and you remember the problem we had last year with the beetles, Japanese beetles?
Oh yeah,
that was a huge thing last year.
So Japanese beetles. Fun fact about those. I'm just full of fun facts.
That's why he's here.
So. Japanese beetles, they are a huge problem. They come out, it's getting time for them. It's getting close to when they come out. But they're actually the grubs. If you dig in your ground and you find grub worms, likely that's a Japanese beetle. Now, do you really want to know how you tell if it's Japanese beetle or not?
Yeah.
Okay. On its butt.
He messed me up with figs. I mean, he really did mess me up.
I forgot about those. So on a grub, if you, it's hard to see, but if you get a microscope and you look at its butt, it's got a V. It's got little hairs on its butt that looks like a V pattern. And that's Japanese beetle larva.
That's Japanese. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the grubs.
That's good to know. We need to know these things, right?
Yeah. So one of the things about the grubs is if you can take care of your grubs, you will stop armadillos from digging in your yard. I have skunks in my yard. I've seen them digging out in my yard. All kind of animals eat grubs, and they're digging in your yard trying to get to those grubs. So if you eliminate the grubs feed on your lawn. The armadillos feeding on the grubs, and then they turn into Japanese beetles. So I mean, you have all these problems with that. But if you put out some insecticide that soaks into the ground, that will kill all those grubs, and it will knock out all those Japanese beetles.
I want them gone.
So you can kind of
think to the fruit though. They were just nasty looking, like those lacy looking leaves and.
Yeah, so very distinct how Japanese beetles feed. They do what's called skeletonization. So they eat in between the veins, and so you'll be left with a leaf that has little veins on the leaf, but it'd just be skeletonized.
If they would at least do it in design, if they would just do that, but I mean, they'll mess your leaves up.
Some pig, right?
Yeah. Can you not pick your wars? Now we had talked a little bit about. Let's talk about landscaping because this came from Angie.
Okay.
So, and I know that's one of you love landscaping.
I do.
But the thing about it is, Angie said that she lives basically in the woods.
Okay.
And she doesn't want to get rid of any of her trees. She's a tree hugger.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to get rid of any of the trees, but she's tired of just trees. She wants to add something.
Okay.
What can she do?
No grass. You cannot have grass and trees. It's one or the other. If you have grass, the thing is, grass needs sunshine. No matter, there's some grasses out there that will tolerate, but in reality, no grass will grow under a tree. So that's how.
How about moss or something like that?
Mosses, you can do that. Usually you have moss when it's wet. So if it's not a wet area,
kind of the wetlands.
I would avoid moss because it can be slick, and I would try to avoid that. But some people use it as decoration. Each his own. But what I would look for is things that are shade tolerant or filtered shade. Depends on how much sun she's got there. If it's not too deep in the woods, things like azaleas will be perfect under the understory plants.
Mm-hmm.
Camellias.
Mm-hmm.
Camellias are great under pine trees. They will thrive under pine trees. If you have a wet area, I love Itea. The Virginia sweet spire. I have to think of common names because I call them by their scientific name.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. And I go, English, please.
Yeah, so Virginia sweet spire is a really nice one. You know, it gets about 5 or 6 feet. It's one of my favorite plants. If it's heavy shade, you could do cast iron plant, and there's a reason why it's called cast iron plant, because it's tough as nails. You can't kill it. You'll probably be trying to kill it. It doesn't spread like kudzu or anything, but it does spread underground stolons, and it's got a long blade on it, and it's a nice plant to, you know, just to cover an area. Just you know, if you got really just deep shade,
like ground cover.
Fatsia. Have you ever heard of Fatsia?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Fatsia.
We talked about that in class one day.
Yeah, so Fatsia's got a big fat leaf. You know, it's probably like a foot or two wide, and that's a great shade plant that you can do.
Almost like an elephant ear.
Kind of, yeah,
sort of.
Yeah, kind of like that. Gosh, there's a lot of plants that actually.
What about edible plants? Because I love edible landscapes.
Yeah.
But there's not much you can do.
Not a lot. Not a lot. Most edible things need some sunshine. So, it would be much more difficult with some edibles. I can't think of any right off the bat that would do okay in the shade.
And like roses, I mean, roses want sun.
They need sun. Yeah, they need sun. Even like if you want to do a small tree, you could do a Japanese maple. Japanese maples actually love it understory under some trees.
Somebody else.
Yep. So, so a lot of the gardens we visited, they actually will grow the Japanese maples under other trees. Yeah. So it's a good, you know, and even dogwoods. I love dogwoods, but I don't like dogwoods. They're native to the woods, you know, they're an understory tree. So, if you want to plant one, that's a great spot to plant one. It's if you have some shade. It just keeps them out of that direct sunlight.
And then you can always go to kudzu.
That's right. It'll grow anywhere.
You know something? There was some rogue something that was right here at the side of the yard. And so one of my friends was over and she was looking at all this stuff. We always swap out plants and stuff. And she said, "You know what that is, don't you?" And I said, "What?" It was just a little bitty thing coming up. And I said, "What is that?" And she said, "That's kudzu." I got the shovel then.
Yeah.
I mean, right there, but it doesn't take long. It takes over.
It does. It does. And, you know, it's not native, but it's naturalized. So that's what we refer to it as, something that has come over here and it's just kind of took up residence. It's naturalized, right? So we have a lot of those type plants that are, you know, scientific names. We talked a little bit about that in our classes. If you have a scientific name that ends in like Japonica, it came from Japan, or Chinensis, it came from China.
That'll give you the hint.
Those are the two big ones. Like the Chinese, there was a lot of, especially landscape plants that come from China. So
now you've traveled all over the world.
Yeah.
You had to pick one place, which is almost like the Garden of Eden, in your opinion.
Oh, England. No question whatsoever. England has the best gardens in the entire world.
Why is that?
So their climate,
like a lot of TV shows, and the most beautiful, magnificent gardens you could
right. So they have, one of the things that's unique about there is it's not the hot weather like we have, and they do have cold winters, and they're a little bit longer than our winters here.
How about their humidity?
Their humidity is not near as bad, so they don't have as much disease pressure.
Cut it with a knife here.
But over there, like they think, like today, they would be dying in the heat. They're like, oh my God. But I'm like, it's not that bad out today. It feels good today.
Today's reasonable.
Yeah, it's like mid 80s. Oh, they freak out. If it gets 80 degrees, they just freak out. So one of the other things is they get a ton of rain. Yeah, they do. So almost every night, it's beautiful during the day, and you might have a pop-up shower, but almost every night it rains, just a little bit. And so that's why you have so many gardens over there. They're just so green.
The flowers are just
unreal.
Vivid.
Yeah.
I mean, so the colors.
Yeah.
We've been, and I'm gonna tell you, I've never seen anything like it, and I haven't traveled like you have.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then Japan also is a really beautiful country. lot of they really take care of their plants. One thing I saw in a garden there, I saw a guy with a pair of snips, little tiny little snips, in a tree, snipping at the tree, pruning a giant tree with little snips. But that's just what they do. I mean, it's art.
It's art.
It is art to them. So they care for their plants, and they go all out. So it's just a different way of thinking about things. But yeah, England by far is the best.
You just mentioned that. Yard art. I'm all into yard and funky, weird stuff in the yard and that kind of thing. Phil has a cousin who had these bushes, and he did everything but Mickey Mouse ears. I mean, this guy could do any. Is there a right or a wrong way to do that?
It could be. You got to be really careful, because you make one wrong move and it's ruined it. But it's
like
topiaries.
A bad haircut.
Yeah, right.
Hair.
They call them topiaries. And there's a lot of different plants. There's some that's better to make as a topiary than others. You can make. I've seen a lot of topiaries out of rosemary. They'll train rosemary in like a little spiral. So I've seen it in rosemary.
I've got rosemary. I've got extra. I can play with it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things you can do as a topiary. I'm trying to think of. There's a creeping. I think it's called creeping fig, and it grows almost flat. It's a very unusual plant. It grows flat against a wall. It does much better down in South Alabama than in North Alabama, but
it's
a lot of people they'll make a structure, and then they train that creeping fig to grow over it, and it covers it like that. So
maybe that's something our friend could do, Angie. Is there something she could do with a tree or something? Not with a pine tree, but
I don't know.
You'd have to see what she has.
Yeah, just have to see what she has.
Angie, send us some pictures next time.
Yeah. Anybody's free to give me any, text me or call or whatever. I'll be glad to answer any questions. We can. You can just look up my name on the extension website, aces.edu, and I'll be glad to answer any questions they have. So I get them all the time. So,
is there anything that we're too late on planting for the garden right now? Maybe you just need to wait until it's a different season.
If you waited this late, it's
too late on almost everything.
Yeah, it's almost too late, because things have to have a maturity date, and they'll say like 90 to 100 days or something like that. And 100 days from now, we're looking, let's see, June, July, August. We're looking mid-September. So it's almost too late. There's some of the shorter things you could probably, like squash, for example. Squash grows like crazy, and you could probably still do squash.
You probably do that in the wintertime.
There's actually an app. I don't know if I've told you this, but there's an app called Sow that we have, that extension has.
Okay, so
S-O-W.
S-O-W, not S-E-W.
Yeah, sow like sowing seed, S-O-W. And when you open that app, it tells you, you enter in what state you're in and what county you're in, and it puts in the right zone, and it tells you can plant this today. And so I think I have it.
That's a good one. I got to get that.
Yeah, it's a great app.
So my friends Jim and Joanne McGee, who live in Mobile area, they plant things at different times. We do, because we're living in two different worlds in Alabama, just like North Carolina. You got the beach on one side, you got the mountains on the other side.
So this is the app here. It says settings. It has your zone. Now this hasn't been updated to the newest ones, newest zones, but you can put in your state, and you put in your county. Let's just grab one here, and then save my zone, and then you say add garden, and you can just do all that. But it will tell you exactly here's what you can plant today, and I'll show there.
The herbs, all those wonderful things. Yeah.
So it tells you all the stuff: peas, okra, corn, collards, some mints, oreganos, thyme, basil. Yeah, so all that you can plant today.
I'm going to get that app.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's a great app for
Brian,
everything.
about 35 seconds left.
Yeah. Well, we have the Master Gardener class starting up this fall. Right now, the whole month of June is for registration. So if you want to register, you can go online and just search for Alabama Master Gardener Program, and you can find the links there. Or call your local extension office and see if they're offering the class. I'm offering our class in Marshall County in Guntersville this time. We welcome everybody, but it will be in Guntersville. So
our friends actually in Gadsden could come?
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got a lot of viewers in Gadsden.
We'll take them all. So, yeah. But, yeah, feel free to give us a call. If you have questions about it, you can call me, 256-558-8129. Or you can email or text me, either one.
Absolutely. Brian, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. And thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.
My Towels solved the problem that we've all had with towels. You go into the stores and they feel lotiony and soft, but then you get them home and they wind dry you. That's why I made My Towels. They actually work, they're soft, and they absorb. And now I'm excited to announce 2 brand new lines of My Towels. What makes them the best towels ever is they're now made with 100% long staple Shapir cotton. This is a combed ring spun cotton that makes My Towels even softer and more absorbent than ever. And now you get a 6-piece set for an amazing introductory sale price as low as $29.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get My Towels for only $29.98. Or you can get my designer premium line for just $20 more. Either way, you save 50% now on all My Towels. They actually work. What a concept. This offer won't last long, so please order now.
MyPillow.com.
The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is #1 as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462.
Donna's Designs offers a line of handmade memorial, wedding, and keepsake jewelry that launched back in 1970. I'm a self-trained jewelry designer, and I will work closely with you to create unique designs you can love and treasure for years to come. Whether that be flowers that were used in a funeral arrangement or stones you found on the beach at a memorable trip, call me at 256-659-4319, and let's think of the possibilities.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you.